Rose hips, the last few flowering brambles, and all of the dead or dried up or not picked blackberries. Autumn's here. Well, it's lovely out here at the moment. The sun's shining. A lovely low sun as well, because we're getting towards the end of the day. And of course, we've just passed the autumn equinox on the 23rd, or Mabon if you are a pagan, and you've passed another notch on the wheel of the year. Bright blessings to you, and it's all grand. More of these coal tar soap bags, which I mentioned a couple of videos ago, to try and keep the local deer from stripping the bark off these young trees, these lime trees. But we've also had planted a whole load of little beech trees going up through here, which is fabulous. Look at these. Look, this was a very kind local benefactor who donated the money, or donated all these little beech trees. So we've got it's going to create a lovely screen going up through here. I mean, the whole idea of this meadow is to replant it and turn it into a wood. It's mostly oak, but there's also dogwood. Oh, hello. Are you lost? Oh, it looks like the big field's now been completely ploughed and the harrow's gone over the top. It's all looking very smooth. I should go looking for more hagstones and fossils if I'm lucky. Oh, I see he's got the harrow out in the other field at the moment, breaking up the blocks on that field. There we are, a bit closer now, you can see them in action. Those little metal wheels behind the tractor, it's like a whole set of little discs that as it's going along, it's just breaking up all the big lumps. You can probably see the difference between where he's been and where he hasn't been. Look at those big spiky wheels on the back. It's a beast, isn't it? Yeah, smash those lumps up. I'm always a little bit wary walking along here, because where the plough share has hit some of these big flint nodules and split them open, it creates razor sharp edges on the flints, which is of course why our prehistoric ancestors realised they could use it for making tools, like arrowheads and spearheads and such like, but not so good for little doggies' feet. So thankfully they don't plough right up to the edge, and on the margins the flints generally aren't cracked open, so the likelihood of him cutting himself is minimal. And I wouldn't walk out into the middle of the fields anyway, especially if they're just seeded. It's just rude. It's not been great for fungus so far this year, but I'm starting to find some of these little tiny wood-eating mushrooms now, turning up on old logs and bits of wood on the floor. Oh, and I've just noticed in amongst all this, there's some hogweed seeds. Now, I don't know whether you've ever tasted one of these. They're extraordinary. I mean, I don't understand really why you can't buy this in the supermarket ground up as a spice, because, you know, you pay for coriander and you pay for all these things, but hogweed is really, really interesting. I mean, make sure you know that it is hogweed. That's the first thing I will say, because there are relations to hogweed that can do you some harm, you know, the obvious one being hemlock. But hogweed seeds are fairly distinctive because they've got those lines on them like that, and they've got a nice taste to them. They kind of taste a bit like cardamom, they taste a bit like orange, they taste a bit like vanilla. They're quite bitter, but you wouldn't normally eat one just like that. What you would do is you would put it into your milk to flavour it in the same way as you would with cardamom, to develop the flavour in the custard. It's actually a really lovely spice, and I have no idea why we don't capitalise it, because the countryside is full of it, and it's free. I've mentioned ribwort plantain a few times on this channel, and the fact that the leaves have a natural antihistamine, and you're far better off going to a plantain for a bit of relief from stinging nettles or wasp stings than you are going to dock. And ribwort plantain is very easy to identify because it's got these round paddle-shaped leaves with very distinctive ribs going through them, hence the name ribwort. and they've got these long stalks, seed stalks sticking up in the air. However, technically this stuff here with the broad leaves is actually greater plantain. I know people call it ribwort plantain because of the ribs, but that isn't actually ribwort plantain, it's greater plantain. Now this is your actual ribwort plantain. Now as you can see, the leaves are strongly ribbed again, but they're long and thin rather than large and spade-like, like this greater plantain that's right next to it. And instead of having a long column of seeds, these have a long stem with just a little bobble of seeds on the top. When I was a kid, we used to call these drumsticks or drummers. Some people call them soldiers, I think because they look a little bit like guardsmen's hats. But you could have fun with them. Who remembers doing this? Yeah, we used to fire them at each other like that. No, Harris, you can't eat it. However, these heads are edible, and they taste bizarrely like mushrooms. And a forager friend of mine told me recently that he got a whole bunch of these heads, boiled them up, and made a mushroom stock to use in a dish. Every day is a school day. I'm 62 and I'm still learning. It's great. Wow, look at that. 3 cherry galls on the same branch. 3 cherry galls. I don't think I've ever seen 3 on one leaf before. But this is what happens with cherry galls. They're actually, the egg is laid into the vein of the leaf on the underside. And where they sit in the sun, they kind of ripen and go red. So yeah, the gall wasps have been very busy this year. Well, things have got a little bit duller as the day's gone on, but it's still been a very, very nice day. So it seems an opportune moment to say thanks for joining me. Don't forget to hit like, don't forget to hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Toodle pip.